Hello, Professor. My name is Huang Guangqi. I'm a graduate student from China. In this video, I will share some ideas in my mind on physics with you. These ideas have been developed for 3 years, and I regard all of them as a possible everything theory. So, sincerely wish you spare some time to enjoy the whole video. 3 years ago, I was still a senior student at Beijing Institution of Technology. One day, my graduation project tutor recommended me a video named The Fabric of the Cosmos. When I finished this video, I was truly attracted by the gravity probability experiment introduced by Professor Brent Green in the first episode. This experiment proved that space is something, and I made a hypothesis from this conclusion. And then I found it can explain all the big questions in physics and the other natural science subjects.
Before introducing my hypothesis, let's have a brief review about the Gravity Probability project. Gravity Probability was a satellite experiment aimed at proving that the space around Earth is truly warped by Earth. Just as this picture shows, and to understand it completely, we'd better dividing it into 3 parts to know a little more. Firstly, the Earth's gravity. As we know that gravity was found by Newton, but after he finished the deduction of law of universal gravitation, he found his work still could not explain that how does the gravity work with no contact, another Descartes' ether vortex hypothesis, which was overthrown by Newton himself. Until over 200 years later, Einstein gave a startling conclusion in his general relativity theory, that massive rotating bodies, like the Earth, warp and twist their local space-time, as shown here. And that is how gravity works in Einstein's mind. And then, in 1959, Leonard Schiff found a possible way to prove Einstein's theory about gravity, a gyroscope. When we put a gyroscope on Earth's orbit, normally its axis points in a fixed direction, but if Earth is actually dragging space, then the gyroscope's axis direction will also happen a shift, which could be measured. This brilliant idea sounds like simple, but it took over 40 years to develop from a gyroscope to a real satellite, attached 4 independent floating gyroscopes, and with all the rotation axis directions pointing at a distant star. Until 2004, the satellite was launched finally, and the final experiment data was truly close to Schiff-Einstein predict theoretical values. Einstein was right, and space is something, also can be warped. But what does the space look like? Should I look at it as an entirety? It just looks like acknowledging a strange thing beyond our world, and there's no difference with agreeing the real existence of God. As a physicist, I choose to regard the space as the aggregation of vast tiny particles, which cannot reflect the photon and have not been detected yet. Yes, I mean the dark matter. And the Earth's rotation can cause a dark matter vortex. I'll show you this idea's possibility by reviewing Newton's mass model, which was used to overthrow Descartes' ether vortex hypothesis. As we all know, Descartes saw that the universe is filled with ether, and sun's rotation will cause a vortex, and then planets around sun are driven by this vortex. That's how the solar system works. But Newton overthrew this hypothesis with a calculation verification, in which Descartes' ether and the Earth model was approximated to infinite deep water and an iron ball. Imagine that the black is the infinite deep water and the white is an iron ball. According to Newton's calculation about ideal fluid circular motion, when the ball is rotating, the water's circular motion period will be directly proportional to the square of orbit radius, and that goes against with Kepler's third law of planetary motion. But for my hypothesis, the dark matter is so tiny that it can through the Earth. It's obviously that Newton's model isn't suitable for a dark matter vortex hypothesis. Since dark matter can go through the Earth, the driving power from Earth to other things should be weakened, compared to Newton's model before. Then, we could try to add a weaken factor in Newton's previous equation of ideal fluid circular motion, and if the weaken factor d was equal to 3/4, it will become the Kepler's third law of planetary motion. But how could the weaken factor is not close to 0, as the dark matter is so tiny, even more than neutrino? It should not have an interaction with Earth. However, it could be. The weaken factor could be near to 3/4. Let me show you the reason. The next words are going to reveal the nature common between the astronomical world and the quantum world. As my hypothesis says, there are vast dark matter around Earth, and Earth's rotation caused a dark matter vortex. Well, since the dark matter can go through Earth, it must also largely exist inside Earth, like in the atmosphere, soil, ocean, lives, and everywhere. And what about the so-called weakened space in atoms? The other parts except neutrons and electrons. There could be a microcosmic dark matter vortex driven by Newton's spin. Despite Newton's spin is not look like Earth's rotation, as the Sun has differential rotation which is different from Earth. And this picture opens a direction to find the nature of electrostatic interaction and the nature of positive and negative electricity. No longer the definition relied on experience, like fur rubbing with rubber. Fur positive, rubber negative. If every atom has a dark matter vortex, it can be imaged that it's not as easy as we thought before for dark matter to go through the Earth. Then, the weaken factor could be near to 3/4. And the model of dark matter vortex could be in accordance with Kepler's third law of planetary motion. An accurate modelization and computation is needed to prove this hypothesis with data right here. In a word, Earth's gravity is caused by vast particles around and inside Earth and Earth's rotation. All the metals and their group motion form a gravity field that bound ourselves and everything on Earth, and Earth itself. I've explained the nature of gravity, so how about the acceleration of gravity? As an external expression of the uniform field mentioned before, can it tell the asymmetrical distribution of mass in Earth? This question caused by my hypothesis about gravity's nature needed me to discover another project, the GRACE, Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment. This is a map of Earth's gravity field anomalies measured by GRACE. It's very easy to notice that gravity anomalies districts are so in accordance with the volcano and earthquake frequently occurring areas. And this map was published on April 2009. Let's focus our attention on the red areas of this map and have a review about some big earthquake and volcano disasters from 2009 to now. 7.8 magnitude earthquake in New Zealand, 7 magnitude earthquake in Haiti, 8.8 magnitude earthquake in Chile. Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull volcano eruption. 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Indonesia. 9 magnitude earthquake in Japan. 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Pakistan. 8.1 magnitude earthquake in Chile. 8.1 magnitude earthquake in Nepal. Chile's Carpco volcano eruption. At least 7 in 10 of these disasters are in the deep red area, and be aware that it's not the map about earthquake and volcano. It's about Earth's gravity field anomalies. I haven't found a certain theory to explain about the occurrence, but I found some people explain that with mass distribution, since according to Newton's law of universal gravitation, where there is mass, there is gravity. And there are mountains and plateaux formed by plate movement in plate boundary just in time, so there are gravity anomalies in plate boundary. However, if we think about this sort with Einstein's theory about gravity mentioned before, we'll find that it's not rigorous. The Earth's rotation also plays an important role in Einstein's theory about gravity. Let alone my hypothesis. Gravity is a field of vast particles group motion in my hypothesis. If we find a star which can own planets without rotation, my hypothesis will turn to be failed immediately, and I've paid lots of time to find that kind of stars, to get away from my hypothesis. Sometimes it makes me gaunt, because it always let a new idea burn in my mind when I'm sleeping, and I have to get up, open mobile phone or computer to find answer. But I still haven't found the star which doesn't rotating and still has its own planets. Maybe, if we find out the nature of gravity finally, we'll say goodbye to the time where there is mass, there is gravity. Let's go on our unfinished topic. In fact, I think the accordance between gravity anomaly distribution and earthquake and volcano distribution just provide a support for my hypothesis. Since gravity is a field of vast particles group motion, the fault zone will leave more convenience to particles group motion. That's why there are gravity anomalies in plate boundary, in where also the earthquake and volcano occur frequently. So, the difference of acceleration can indeed tell the mass asymmetric distribution, which is reflected on the gravity anomalies. And we also can logically guess that the gravity anomaly to a certain area might be changeable. And what has been proved by many studies is that it does change with the plate movement. If we make the GRACE data more precise and do more deep researches, maybe we can use it to predict earthquake in a more accurate way. Gravity is a field of vast particles group motion. That's the first part's most important conclusion. In the second part, I will show you that, by my own hypothesis, what a high horizon I have been brought to, and what an endless, hopeful, and harmonious future I have seen. Over thousands years, from Archimedes to Einstein, from Taoist to physicist, the view of human looking at the world around us has been changed countless times, until our modern science system now. We have exposed a lot of secrets about how the world operates, but we still can't explain a lot of things, like how the gravity works at distance. Of course, I'll give a possible hypothesis in the first part about this question. Besides gravity, there are still other kinds of force working at distance, include magnetic force, electrostatic force between nucleus and electron, the force inside nucleus, and the force between molecules or atoms. Let's talk about the magnetic force at first. To me, as a person who considers an action at distance as a real existence of God or ghost, I do have a more materialistic view about the magnetic force. I think the magnetic induction line is real. It is a group motion of some sorts of dark matter particles in specific direction, which caused by an electron's specific motion or some electron's specific group motion. The conduction medium are some sorts of dark matter particles, not all the dark matter particles. That is the source of the difference between magnetic field and the gravity field. After all, the magnetic field is caused by electrons with specific motion, and the gravity field's formation is that nucleus spin causes a little dark matter vortex, and then many of them gather to an aggregation with electrons' participation, and finally, this aggregation's rotation causes a big dark matter vortex. All of them constitute the so-called gravity field. However, which kind of electron-specific group motion can cause magnetic field? I think the answer has in the change happened to the synergistic effect between electrons and its surrounding dark matter, when electron current induces magnetic field. It also has in the difference of electrons' synergistic effect with its surrounding dark matter between magnet and diamagnet. Furthermore, I found a possible breakthrough point from my master graduation project to solve this puzzle. Ferrite is paramagnetic. They can be attracted by magnet. But when ferrite forms the B2 iron aluminide with equimolar aluminum, they can't attracted by magnet. The B2 iron aluminide is diamagnetic. This transformation can't be predicted from all kinds of sources, serving for computational materials derived from quantum theory, like VASP. Both the two metals are body-centered cubic structure, where we can see the distinction in their crystal structure. Half-iron atomers are replaced by aluminum atomers when ferrite becomes to B2 iron aluminide. Maybe we'll know more about how the electrons work with magnetic field when we discover some special change in the formation from ferrite to B2 iron aluminide, and that change must is about the synergistic effect between electrons and its surrounding dark matter. Speaking of which, I have to state my understanding about superconductivity. Deducing from my hypothesis, I think there's a river of dark matter in what abundant electrons flow when the superconductors start to conduct electricity. And the dark matter feels bonding strengths for atomers, which is so-called chemical bond strengths, are different among different materials. When the atom's dark matter field bond tightly, the atom's thermal motion will get more limit. That's why most of the high-temperature superconductors are oxide. Moreover, I also noticed some structure in material, like grain boundary defects and surface reconstruction, can cause the difference of dark matter distribution. So there may exist some specific dark matter reverse pathways when the superconductors start to conduct electricity. After I sought confirmation from internet and literatures, I found the current only flows in the superconductor's surface. It's really interesting that when I found a theory by myself, I dig out more knowledges with its further inspiration. Also, the knowledges have been proved by previous researchers. Let's go on with the other forces with distance, the atom's inner force. Until now, most people are taught by that electron moves around the nucleus with the electrostatic force, but few people realize that the definition of positive electricity and negative electricity is just a conventional and subjective view of human beings. In my opinion, the nucleus spin can cause a tiny dark matter vortex, and electrons are driven by this vortex, while the dark matter vortex field also tightly bonds the nucleus in turn. Please notice that all the nucleus spin, dark matter vortex, and electrons are in a very high speed. The difference in speed and shape between each electron results in the different electron energy level. But with the thermal motion of total atom system at normal temperature, the electrons haven't a clear track. The orbits are discretized. However, if we make an atom ultra-cold, we certainly can stabilize the electron's track. I haven't found an experiment result to visualize this sort. I think the reason is that even the electron's track turns stable, they won't be flat. Different electrons are still in different plane. Maybe the ultra-cold hydrogen atom can visualize this sort, because it just has one electron track. But hydrogen must be very hard to cold to near 0 Kelvin, and the shooting angle also needs to be cared. Nevertheless, I still found a sense to visualize this sort. This video is telling about that some stars are moving around with Milky Way's black hole, and it's real. It's observed by Angela Guess and her team with Keck telescope. This may be similar with the ultra-cold atom. And there's another thing we might care about. I've mentioned the nuclear spin a lot of times in this video. Actually, most of the time in physics, it's just a theoretical idea, but I use it to represent the high-speed rotation of nucleus. And then I wondered, why does the nucleus have high-speed rotation? I have found an interesting explanation from black hole. I'll talk about it later. In the atmosphere, I also found another physics phenomenon which will be remarkably cleared when using my theory to give it a restatement: the tunnel effect. I think it is the dark matter serving as a medium in this phenomenon. The electron migrates from an atom to another atom, that is, as far as we thought it is impossible, with the help of dark matter. Also, when the atoms come together with each other, it turns into the combination of two dark matter vortices, and when two molecules always turn to link with each other, we call it van der Waals force or hydrogen bond in chemistry, and the matching degree of different atoms' dark matter vortex with others also is different. So, the chemical bonds are divided into various types. In the amplified part of this picture, all these chemical bonds between each two atoms are covalent bonds. But there are three kinds of covalent bonds: single bond, double bond, and triple bond. And the brightness in molecular represents the electron's rich area, because the molecular image formed by the touch of a carbon monoxide probe. The more electrons an area has, the more shift the probe happens. So we can say the triple bond area are brighter than the single bond area. The brightness on three benzene rings also distributes unevenly. This dark matter field in the molecule is not just a vortex. Maybe we can call it electron cloud. Until this moment, we have re-understood all the forces at distance, but there is still a long way to go. In the microcosmos, a lot of physics phenomena will become more logical and real if we use my theory to re-understand, such as the surface magneto-optic Kerr effect, gravitational lensing, Ramshrelon, photoelectric effect, nuclear fusion, and so on. Now, let's come to the world scale that we can see and touch. We'll find out that there may be more secrets included in the rocket jet stream's magnetic and the shock wave of supersonic aircraft, and the ground effect. And it is interesting to realize the inner relationship between the flower, fire, and the dark matter. The J.R. McLeod's operating condition may be advanced with some more careful improvement from realizing the relationship between magnetic field, and dark matter. And the three typhoons linked into a line are more than similar to a charged chemical molecule. I have claimed that the dark matter exists in the atom, water, ground, earth, and our solar system. Does it exist in every world of the universe? No, dark matter's distribution in the universe is not homogeneous. Let's go to see our Milky Way. Milky Way is a spiral galaxy. While most of the galaxies are spiral, for example, there's a drain hole on the ground, and two water currents come from their own directions. So, when the water go to the drain hole, will they just go straight? No, they will form a spiral shape with two spiral arms. My intuition tells me that every Milky Way's spiral arm is a dark matter river. The dark matter's concentration outside the arms is lower than inside the arms. But why does the dark matter flow to the center of galaxy, the black hole? I think black hole is not just eating matter. It can create new matter. As stars can happen nuclear fusion, and black holes are more hyperthermal and hyperdense than stars. It's no wonder that black hole can happen nuclear fusion, or even synthesize high-energy proton with tinier particles, and the nuclear spin comes from this. And what will happen to the black hole's superjet stream? I think there are just two ways. The first, if this superjet stream comes to a barren place with no much dark matter atmosphere, all the matter will begin to decay. The second, if the superjet stream meets to another one, and this meeting point has plenty of matter, include dark matter, a new black hole may well be born, and a new galaxy will be bred right here. Also, different dark matter atmosphere and different collision will cause different galaxy. We might wonder the possibility of collision, since the universe is so big. Well, from the viewpoint of cosmic web, it's at least not real. I clipped out a fragment telling the cosmic web from how the universe works. Remember I mentioned the dark matter river before? I think my source theme equals the project results of dark matter. And in the picture, we can see some dark areas. In these areas, even dark matter are real, with the opinion that all the atoms, lives, and stars are made by dark matter and other particles. We can predict out what will happen when things go to these areas. Very horrific, but it's a recycle. Things being born, things dying out. Some scientists have tested the proton's lifetime. No accurate result, only over 10 to the power of 31 years. But when proton goes into this dark place, its dark matter vortex field will start to scatter and disappear. The bond to the center nucleus will disappear. The nucleus will separate into smaller particles. That's why there aren't much stars and planets out of the galaxy. And then, when I began to think of philosophy view, matter can be infinitely separated. I saw an endless universe at the same time. With this uniform sight, I began to call my hypothesis a theory, a possible everything theory. Most of people like interstellar type movie, like Avatar, Star Wars. Maybe some people just enjoying the exciting film plot, but to me, it's like watching the future. I know we should love the Earth, our homeland, But Earth is not permanent peaceful as you think. Dozens or hundreds million years until the Sun destroys the Earth? No. Lots of threats could push us into a hopeless situation just in the next hundreds or thousands of years. From the inner side, we have the Yellowstone supervolcano. You might wonder, how can a supervolcano push us into a hopeless situation? But through some scientists' calculation, we know that when the Yellowstone erupts, most parts of the North American continent will be buried by its tefra. And some tefra will flow in the stratosphere for 10 years. Crops can't grow, temperature goes down, then winter is coming and lasts for years. The famine will appear in everywhere. At that time, we'd better suppress our desire to lose with arms, and have grasped the controlled nuclear fusion technique. Except for the Yellowstone, we also have to face the Ice Age, or a bad leader who always wants to invade other countries. From the outer side, we need the ability to defend asteroids and aliens. But how can we defend the aliens' invasion, since we are still struggling in controlling nuclear fusion? This technique is a key to speed up our spacecraft and survive from the energy and food shortage. We don't need to question our scientists. If we settle to think about the nuclear fusion process with my theory, we'll find out that it's the fusion about two dark matter vortex fields rather than two nuclei. How to let the two nuclei meet with each other? The hyperthermal and hyperdense condition. Temperature's nature includes the vibration of atoms, and hyperdense means closer and closer. When two very close atoms vibrate violently, the nuclei become too eager to reach the edge of vortex field, and then they'll meet with each other sometime. The two vortex fields and the two nuclei combine into a bigger vortex field, a bigger nucleus, and others. So why don't we unite the laser fusion and magnetic fusion? The magnetic field is used to push the nucleus to edge, and the laser is used to help fusion. At least in my life, I want to see the success of long-continuing nuclear fusion. Once we succeed, we can reduce the fossil fuel usage, which means do less harm to our Earth. Also, we can speed up our spacecraft to near 1/10 light speed, and the light can be used to help crops grow. Then, when a big crisis is coming, we can survive, defense, or escape. We can travel in the Milky Way, or migrate from Milky Way to other galaxies. But we don't invade others with arms. The race invading others with arms is the race who have not said the truth. We all are higher beings who just want to survive longer from lots of ruins in the future. All we need to do is keeping ourselves and our habitat good, and getting the abilities to defend other beings' invasion, just like what I have done in the past of my homeland, China. Now, let's see how much time we still have. Maybe the sun will become unsuited for lives on Earth after 1 billion years, whilst the sun may have moved from present place to this place. As we know, the Milky Way grew up by absorbing other small galaxies. We can find the reason from my theory. The black hole is a more capable fusion body than the nuclear fusion star, and in that place, the sun is close to the black hole. Besides, it's also close to the higher civilization zone. I think there's a possibility that the closer to the black hole, the longer lives develops. So, maybe the lives in the higher civilization zone had expertly mastered the nuclear fusion technique. These beings might be in Star Wars, or in a harmonious order, but it's not good to live so close to the black hole. they'll be swallowed after no more than 1 billion years, and they live cloudily. So, let's do a simple plan to space travel. If we start from present place, and our spacecraft have 1/10 light speed, it will take about 150,000 years to move to the outer arm. If we divide this long journey into 1,000 parts, we'll spend 150 years in each single trip. Assuming our average life can reach to 100 years, that means there will be at least 2 generations will spend their whole lives in the spacecraft. No wonder we still haven't found our alien brothers. And when we arrive at the outer arm, maybe we'll see another Jurassic world. And when I started to think about how to move to another galaxy or other cluster of galaxies, I found that we should travel along the finiform structure in the cosmic web, because every silk is a river of dark matter, and the dark matter is the glue of not only galaxies, but also lives and spacecrafts. It's like that fish traveling along the rivers. No wonder we still haven't found our alien brothers again. I still remember the first time that I realized the dark matter is not in everywhere of cosmos, which was about 1 year after I made the hypothesis for gravity. At that time, I was so shocked that I started to doubt the whole hypothesis, because the matter will resolve in the dark matter short areas. But when I began to treat it as a part of the cycle of everything's born and destruction, I was sure again to my theory. And when the legal succeeded, I realized it's the dark matter again, and then got more confidence with my theory. And I already had a simple plan to verify my theory with calculation. I need to get more detailed data to see whether or not this pattern can meet with the Kepler's third law of planetary at first, and then generalizing the pattern to a lot of stellar systems, like testing it whether a lot can explain the overspeed HATS 6b planet, in which other theories failed. Finally, generalizing the pattern to the galaxy systems, in which the black hole is the most difficult part. Before this step, if it's about 2 steps go right, I think my idea about nuclear fusion should be enriched and carried out. On the other hand, if the first step turned to be totally wrong, I might turn to be a citizen Buddhist, because it means the space is something but can't be divided. From this point, I really get the Newton's feel when he converted to religion. But I have the intuition from my deep inner heart that it's right, because this theory helped me build a clear sight about the big questions in other mouths. Although it seems denied the Big Bang theory proposed by a priest, it still hasn't gone against with all the experimental knowledges and direct view common sense I learned before. On the contrary, this theory fused other theories together, like general relativity and quantum mechanics. It also developed other theories, like the superfluid vacuum theory. Furthermore, it changed my view to the whole world, not only the natural science, but also the social science. It helped me develop a new understanding to the whole universe, an understanding that coexists with sun and earth, and united with everything. I know some knowledge loopholes will let me make mistakes. The present thoughts might be wrong or not totally right, so I should keep studying, and inspirations also come from studying. That's why I want to apply for a PhD in physics.
I'm lying on the moon, my dear, I'll be there soon. that starry place. Times we're swallowed up in space. We're here a million miles away. There's things I wish I knew. There's no thing I'd keep from you. It's a dark and shiny place, but with you, my dear, I'm safe and we're a million miles away. We're lying on the moon. It's a perfect afternoon. Your shadow follows me all day, making sure that I'm okay and we're a million miles away. A million miles away. A million